Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of Musical Life. It seems September has flown by. Happy autumn and happy October. Whether you are new to the show or returning, welcome. And we are now on YouTube, which is so exciting. So whoever's watching the live streaming there, welcome. I'm grateful for all of you taking the time to view or listen to the show live, or if you catch the replay later. So to connect with me, you may do so via Facebook Messenger. My Facebook is Musical Life, MUSICALLIFE 2025, or you may also reach out to my email, musicandsound2025@gmail.com, MUSICANDSOUND2025@gmail.com. So, bridging good science with spirit, sprinkled with a bit of logic. I aim to bring the best and highest knowledge available to the show every week. A reminder for those who are newly joining, Ruth. Yes, and just so people who are new here know, when I need to look at the comments, I put on my glasses. That's my giveaway. Good to see you, Ruth. Nice to have you here. So I bridge good science with spirit, sprinkle it with a bit of logic, and I aim to bring the highest and best knowledge available to the show every week. Excuse me. And just a friendly reminder, and for those who are newly joining us, music means harmony, and musical life means harmonious life. This is something we can all achieve if we choose to. It is not something that happens overnight. Creating a harmonious life takes consistency, time, and perseverance. Excuse me, I think I'm just choking on a crumb. I had a cookie before I started. So, all too easily, we tend to get caught up in the mundane, the earth-related events, happenings. It helps to remember to keep one foot in the spirit world and one foot on earth, and this is balance. Earth is a challenging school intended for our soul's expansion and advancement. We take on many different roles here, like wife, husband, parent, doctor, lawyer, business owner, server, laborer, etc. Yet these roles are not who we really are. We are far more than any label. We also experience many diverse things throughout our life. It can be liberating to remind ourselves that our experiences are only experiences. Challenges can be a turning point for us in a positive way. We can turn pain into power, yet we do notice that our experiences do affect our lives, our beliefs and behaviors, our perceptions about the world we live in, and our relationship with other beings and how we choose to move forward in life. Knowing over ignorance, faith over fear is how we can move forward. We tend to mistake opinion with truth, depending opinions with tooth and nail. Additionally, we have been controlled, manipulated, and lied to about who we really are, along with many other false truths, not just in this lifetime, but for many lifetimes. As you already may know, currently, many of the truths that were hidden from us are being revealed, and this process has sped up. This is the real definition of the apocalypse, aka the great reveal. And it must be so. Um, in order for clearing to happen, stuff has to come to the surface, right? And we're experiencing this globally right now and also individually. And we do have to clear, because when we clear stuff out, then, the vibration rises, right? When we clear stuff out, then here comes the new earth. In the previous episodes of this show, we had explored different aspects pertaining to reharmonizing the body, mind, and spirit. For the next few episodes, we will be focusing on the truth about how powerful we really are. How to claim that power, and how to walk in power as divine sovereign beings. Contrary to popular belief, we are not powerless over anything, nor are we victims of any circumstance. What I bring to each episode of Musical Life is cumulative years of research, deep meditations, and my own lived experiences. I am aware that the content within each episode is outside of mainstream approaches and beliefs. This makes me so-called unpopular, and I have accepted that. I would rather stand in truth, be honest and upfront, not just for the integrity of my own soul, but for Source itself. I have zero interest in fanning any flames of any ego, including my own, nor to prove myself to anyone in any aspect of my life. Before we continue, please know that the information and knowledge presented in each episode of the Musical Life show is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. I am not a licensed physician. If you need professional medical care, please seek it. So to kick things off today, I'm going to share with you a bit about my own life, starting with my 28th year on Earth. Just so you are aware, my life was loaded with intense challenges, some of which I didn't know if I would make through. There were times when I felt like giving up on life, where I felt so helpless and powerless. Of course, that was long before I dove into my research, before I learned how to meditate, before I reconnected consciously with my spirit team and my higher self. I had fallen out of harmony with myself, which affected everything in my life from the inside out, including obstructing my own rhythm. So, in a nutshell, here is what transpired during my 28th year on Earth. So, I had a lot of health issues, okay? A lot. Asthma, and I didn't have asthma as a child. It developed as an adult. Asthma, allergies, depression, severe anxiety, and I did what I was brought up to do: go seek medical help, go to doctors, right? And what do doctors do? They put you on pills. So pretty soon I had my whole top of my dresser looked like its own pharmacy. And I was okay with that. For a while, I just kept taking them. During that time also, because of my perspective, shall we say, and my perception of the world and my life, I had lost hope. And I ended up getting into drugs. So to be exact, it was cocaine, which of course always turns to crack. And I had gotten involved in that. I was at 28. So knee deep in addiction, along with a slew of medications on top of my dresser, um, for almost 3 years, until I just looked at all those medications one day and I went, these aren't helping me. And I started to look at my own life and go, my goodness, I have to get out of this. This is just not the right, this is not the right path. Like inside I knew I wasn't on the right path. And one night I was in the shower, and I'm by no means, no disrespect here. I'm not a religious person. Um, I never really prayed. I never really talked to source. I never really had any kind of, I guess, open communication with anything in the non-physical realm or anyone in the non-physical realm. But one night I was in the shower and I started to see very clearly the walls closing in on me, not just back to front, but from side to side. And I knew in that instant I had to make a decision. Do I want to heal and go on here on earth, or cut the cord and go home? And I decided, well, I think I'd like to heal. So what I did in that instant, as soon as I saw those walls closing in, held up my hands, and from my heart I said, if I am meant to heal from this universe, I need your help. Hmm. I will never forget what happened next. Thank you. I felt a warm blanket being put over my shoulders. And in my heart, like two chain links reconnecting. Excuse me. I always break down when I tell this story because I remember it like it was yesterday. And the feeling of that reconnection with Source itself and my spirit team. And my life was never the same after that. I broke down and I just sobbed. And from that moment forward, it was time to heal. It was full throttle. So my spirit team started coming in and they taught me nutrition that was important for me to replenish everything that I had depleted from my own body during addiction. They started teaching me how to meditate, simple things, just simple practices. Okay. And I turned to the divine feminine itself, herself, in order to get off the drugs. And I did it. And I said, look, I don't want to do this anymore. Take your sword and cut all attachments to addiction. Within 48 hours, I stopped using drugs, never relapsed, never looked back. And it was interesting because what my spirit team said to me is, this is what you need to do. They never said, labeled me. They never said, this is what is wrong with you. And I personally feel this is a big mistake that we make here, is we're so focused on what is the problem and what is wrong when we really need to focus on the solution. We need to focus on reharmonizing and rebalancing ourselves from the inside out. So after 3 years of that, it stopped. And then I was guided to a great chiropractor, started going for adjustments, and got off the asthma medications, got off the allergy medications, got off the antidepressants, and the anxiety pills, which I didn't really take anyways because they didn't work. I got off of everything pretty much, all gone. And I started to feel better and stronger from the inside out. And it's not like, and one of the things that my spirit team did teach me is proper breathing. Remember we went through that? We talked about that a few episodes ago. Proper breathing. I wasn't breathing properly. So guess what? My lungs, my bronchially, it was all constricted with tension and stress. Deep breathing opens the lungs. This is where I learned it from. It's from my spirit team. So needless to say, my life wasn't the same after that. And I vowed never again will I turn my back on my higher self, which is connected to source, and on my spirit team. Never again. Ruth, thank you for sharing your story. Such raw. It really is. Yes, it does take courage. And I've only shared this story probably twice in my life, Ruth, with small groups of people who are in recovery, addiction recovery, like this. So I've kind of kept it quiet, but no more. Yes, I'm sorry. I do break down when I share this story. It still touches me at the very core of my being. Okay, give me 1 second here, guys. Excuse me. Ooh, Robin. Hi, Robin. Oh, I love you too. I had an experience back in 1989 with Holy Angels. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think isn't it amazing? If we really reflect back on our life, I think we've all had some kind of experience with angels, our spirit team, source, they're all connected, right? So that's really beautiful, Robin, and thank you. I love you too, sweetie. Thank you for being here. So it's very powerful, Ruth says. Yeah. I know it will help someone by hearing. Well, I hope so. I hope it gives somebody hope. I really do. I vowed to source, I vowed to spirit. I said, show me how to heal, and I promise I will go on and help others. And I have been trying to do that for years. Okay. So, and I don't share this aspect of my life for pity or for attention. I share it because with the intention to inspire, to offer hope, to help shape a sort of understanding around how challenges can turn into something more positive, that we are truly not alone on this earth journey, no matter how lonely we may feel, and that we are more powerful than we have ever been made to believe. What is the saying? What did Yeshua say? Ask and you shall receive. I asked, I knocked, and the door was answered, and I received. And it doesn't end there, There's obviously I'm still very connected with my spirit team and higher self source. It just transforms over time. That as we heal, we evolve. As we evolve, our relationship with our spirit team evolves too. And it's just really a beautiful thing. It doesn't mean also that I don't experience challenges anymore, because I do. It's just now I feel more equipped within myself to handle them, because I have my higher self that I can turn to. And your higher self is much more intelligent than you think it is. It is loaded and coated with wisdom and higher knowledge, and it is yours. All you have to do is ask. We tend to say, when we go through challenges, why is this happening to me? That wording is self-victimizing and robs us of claiming our power. Instead, with just a shift in words, we can open ourselves to triumph, inner growth, and an expanded perspective. So instead of why is this happening to me, let's reword it. How is this experience helping me grow? As an incarnated soul in this physical body, how is this experience or challenge for my highest and greatest good? The way we talk about things, the way we form questions about things we're going through or have been through, how we handle the emotional pain can be used in ways to own our power and invite growth, or cause us to shrink ourselves and hide. And I think a lot of us have experienced the shrinking and hiding, haven't we? So here's an example for you of that. Someone confides in me a challenge they are experiencing. They easily vent about it and how this challenge makes them feel. And I listen. And after listening to them, I have only one question. Well, what are you going to do about it? This question alone leaves room for growth, for that person to become the hero or heroine of their own story, and it invites them to step into their own power. I even use this question on myself, to be truthful. For some reasons, we as humans tend to gravitate towards getting caught up in the negative aspects of an experience and then get stuck there. So try this with yourself. What am I going to do about it? Sometimes the answer may just be acceptance. There are quite a few sciences, that support claiming your power, where they bridge spirit with, they bring spirit back into the picture. So allopathic medicine, when it started, it removed the whole concept of spirit from the picture of medicine and health and science. And in doing so, I think that was a major that was a major error, because when you remove the spirit from science and medicine, what you're saying is that there's no energy being in this body, but there absolutely is. And it's our soul self that keeps these bodies alive, keeps them moving. I want to revert back to this analogy, this visual here of the movie Avatar. And if you've ever seen it, when Jake, who by the way was paralyzed from the waist down, when he laid in that bed, to tap into that avatar body, and he plugged in, what happened? It wasn't him physically going into that avatar body. It was his spirit, his energy going into that avatar body. And we are no different. So some of the sciences that support that we are indeed powerful are psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI. And Evelyn Beecham explains easily about this in Biology of Belief. PNI is the study of how psychological states influence the nervous and immune systems. This field provides a scientific framework for understanding how it communicates with the body to regulate health and healing. For instance, positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and hope have been shown to enhance immune function by increasing the production of killer cells, NK, and T cells, which fight infections and tumors. Optimistic thinking has been associated with longer telomeres, and if you don't know what a telomere is, it is the protective caps on our chromosomes, which become shortened by stress, thus inviting aging at the cellular level. When we cultivate a positive outlook, we can potentially slow down aging at the cellular level. Imagine that. Imagine that. So, this whole thing about aging is natural. I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't deal with that because it is so not true. And here it is, that when we take time to cultivate joy, when we take time to have a positive outlook, when we shift our perspective, right, we're actually doing our bodies good at the cellular level to the point that not only does it slows down aging. So for a long time, next one is epigenetics. For a long time, the leading belief in biology was that our genetic makeup, the DNA we inherit from our parents, was the ultimate determinant of our traits and health. And by the way, that was never scientifically proven. The fact is that our DNA is actually, we have divine DNA. Our DNA is divine, okay? But what this false belief about our biological makeup, our DNA, suggested was that we were victims of our genes. Okay, epigenetics literally means above genetics. And studies have shown that we are above our genes. And what does this mean? It means that each of us has the ability to transform our gene expression. Genes are constantly turning on and off. Things that, by our beliefs, our diet, our thoughts, behaviors, habits, environs, they're just constantly turning on and off. Therefore, just because high cholesterol or cancers run in the family doesn't mean that we are necessarily going to experience those for ourselves. There's a lot of factors that have to play out. And it literally has nothing to do with it has to do with our internal, how we're keeping our internal environment and the external environment. And to be honest, a lot of my research suggested that many illnesses and diseases are gene expressions. And this, I have to be careful with this one, but I'm going to say it. And this includes HIV and AIDS. I'm going to say it because the research is there. Vibrational medicine, also known as energy medicine. Okay, vibes are real. Frequencies are real. They don't just exist in instruments, tuning forks, Tibetan bowls. Vibes and frequencies exist very much within you and can determine health and well-being or illness and disharmony. In Caroline Myss's book, Anatomy of the Spirit, she explains simply that each area of the body transmits energy and specific detailed frequency. When we are healthy, we are in tune. Interpreting the body's energy in energy medicine is sometimes referred to as vibrational medicine. And when we are out of tune, we are out of rhythm with ourselves, right? Energy does not and cannot lie. You don't need to say anything for someone else to pick up on what your vibe is, and the body will also show it. Example, your skin, hair, nails, posture, eyes, facial expressions, and so on. And I have to work on my facial expressions because they tend to speak even when I'm not. So I feel a little mindful of that. Every person can pick up on another person's energy. This is an innate quality that all souls have. Why? Because in essence, we are all energy. We are energy beings, pure consciousness, awareness, to put it simply. Neuroscience with particular focus on neuroplasticity. That is the next one. That shows us how powerful we are. And for this one, if you want to learn more, I highly suggest you check out Dr. Joe Dispenza's books. They're loaded with living data about how powerful we are and how neuroplasticity can be used, and we tap into our power that way. In neuroplasticity, there's a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. Neuroplasticity is your brain's amazing superpower to change and grow. Anytime you learn something new tasks at a job, a new trade, a new hobby, or even a new piece on whatever instrument you're playing, learning a new sport or mountain biking, just some examples, your brain makes new connections between brain cells called neurons, or it strengthens the old ones. Even challenges have the potential to strengthen your brain. Learning and growing your brain is something that you can do for your entire life. Yes, it never stops unless you decide to stop learning. It's like a muscle in the sense that if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And then I threw in also quantum healing. And that's also very much mind, body, spirit. Really getting us to connect with who we really are at the deepest level and take that, what is called a quantum leap. So that's also in there. So all of these, the PNI, the epigenetics, vibrational energy medicine, neuroplasticity, quantum healing, all point to the truth that the power to transform yourself from the inside out is 100% possible. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of bad science being presented to the masses, and the majority of global citizens have embraced the bad science due to their own ignorance. And they still do. Many of us also were brought up to believe that doctors know best. And the fact is, there's no doctor who knows you like you know yourself. It is your soul living in that physical body, day after day, year after year. You are with yourself constantly, and yet so many still put their faith into doctors. And that was a lesson that I had learned, in my own healing journey. I mean, look what happened. I went, you go tell somebody why you feel sad, why you're depressed, why I was feeling depressed, and they sent me home with a medication. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I needed. And it was the same with the asthma inhalers. Oh God, yeah, I remember that. Remember that purple thing that was a kind of a steroid? Yeah, ew. They sent me home with that. They sent me home with anything but ways to heal. So I have no qualms. I'm not going to sit here and put doctors down because, there have been situations where they have been incredibly helpful and their services were needed, and I am grateful for that. By all means, you know, um, All I'm saying is just don't put blind faith into them. Don't hand over your life if it is something that you can navigate through naturally and by tuning into yourself. I mean, of course, if you break an arm, please go see a doctor. I mean, really, let's just use common sense here. Um, so, anyways, taking back your power is something. Taking back our power is something we need to do individually and collectively. It is your right as a global citizen and as a divine sovereign being to question everything, including your doctor's approaches, suggestions, and opinions. Furthermore, it is absolutely your right to say, I don't feel like this treatment is what my body wants or needs. I would like to explore other options. There was a great show a while back, and I couldn't remember the name of it when I was writing this. I think it was something like Dope Sick or Painkiller. Um, I know those are two separate shows, but kind of on the same wavelength. Anyway, in that series, in a nutshell, it was about how the opioid epidemic began in the 90s. Purdue Pharmaceuticals targeted small mining towns, and the data regarding the opioid medications was manipulated. And of course, when doctors prescribed these drugs, not only would these doctors get kickbacks, but the patients became addicted, in which Purdue specifically said their opioids are not non-addicting. Yep. And that was a lie. Many people who got hooked on opioids at some point transitioned into using heroin. So it became a national problem. I'm going further and more current with the so-called COVID jab, which should be banned. Again, many were manipulated, coerced, and forced to take the jab. Again, bad science, just bad science. There are many more examples. But the point I want to make is that when we are standing in our power, we can no longer be manipulated. We trust ourselves more. We say no thank you to protect ourselves, our health, and of course, our children. So taking your power back and learning to stand in your power is absolutely vital when it comes to harmonious living. The bad science and blind faith in doctors is just one example of many ways we give our power away. Some other examples are saying yes to fit in, believing everything and anything that we're told. I don't care who it's from. Remaining in a victim mindset. Not thinking for oneself. Excuse me. Tolerating disrespect in any environment. Letting fear get in the way. Unhealthy or no boundaries. And dishonoring your soul. Again, you are a divine, sovereign being. You are a victim of nothing. Yes, things happen. We experience pain, a sense of loss, hardship. But those things cannot make you powerless unless you give them permission to. And you've heard my story in this episode. So, I'm speaking from experience, that this is so true. Look at Nelson Mandela, South African anti-apartheid activist and politician. He was imprisoned for his anti-apartheid activism. Mr. Mandela, for 27 years from his arrest in 1962 until his release in 1990, didn't give up. He could have. He could have adopted the belief of powerlessness, but he didn't. Instead, he maintained a focused mindset, transforming his incarceration into a period of self-reflection and personal growth, eventually becoming the first South African president from 1994 to 99. Look, God, he was inspiring. So the choice is ours. And it does affect healing. It does affect our life overall. It affects everything. So, so we are going to be spending considerable time, just bit by bit about personal power, which, by the way, is associated with no false ego or no false pride. I remember going to a CEU event in which I'm going to say it. There was a doctor of addiction. This is my favorite. A doctor of addiction from Yale Medical. Okay. Older gentleman. And he was saying that, no, there's no, pretty much, there's no, you're an addict forever, whatever. And I raised my hand and I said, yes, but in neuroplasticity, it states that neurons that fire together wire together, and that by creating positive habits, we're firing up new neurons that eventually wire together. And you know what he said to me? He said, I don't know neuroscience. I almost fell out of my chair. I said, how does a doctor of addiction not know neuroscience? Huh? Twinkle? I'm so confused. Okay. And then right then a young woman raised her hand and she said, you know what? She looked at me. She goes, I understand what you're saying, because she's in recovery. She says, and I noticed that the new positive habits that I'm cultivating, and doing, I'm feeling a difference, like physiologically. So there you go. And you know what that doctor of addiction had to say? Absolutely nothing. Bad science, people. Bad science. Anything that you're told that makes you feel powerless, that makes you feel, you got to use your judgment here, that makes you feel like you're making you shrink inside, okay, is not good. Let me just check the comments here. Hold on. Twinkle as well. Oh, hi, Twinkle. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. That's lovely. Thank you. Okay. So Robin, you came over to Rumble. Okay. So, I want you to try something for the coming week. Okay. I'm going to suggest that you take some time to recall when you felt powerless, when you gave your power away in your life. This is not so that you can be self-judging or self-condemning. It is for your awareness. Write it down on paper, but make a promise to yourself. And the promise is this: I, as a divine sovereign being, promise myself to claim my power by divine right and to stand in it firmly from this moment onward forever. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I, as a divine sovereign being, promise myself to claim my power by divine right and to stand in it firmly from this moment onward, forever. Let's start there. I have a great love for humanity, and I have a lot of hope that, things are moving so quickly right now, but I have a lot of hope and anticipation that we're on the right track, and our planet's going to be better than ever. And I know that there's going to be med beds coming out. I just heard they're coming out hopefully sooner than later, and that is fabulous. However, even though the med beds will help considerably for people who need it, the thing is that once you're out of that med bed, there has to be ways that you keep your health, that you keep yourself harmonized. And that rhythm is not, you don't dysregulate that rhythm in you, and everything is rhythm. Nature is rhythm. Our body is rhythm, heartbeat, pulse, circulation, right? Breathing, everything is rhythm. That's a big part of harmony. So remember that your life is one big symphony, okay? You're composing as you go. If your symphony had no rhythm, it would be in absolute disharmony. It wouldn't sound right, right? So, yes. So yes, we do need to step into our powers. Robin, I have a family member that was addicted to heroin. They came home. They gave him a medicine. Yeah, I love autocorrect, right? They gave medicine that was the same as taking that. Yes. He got addicted to the medicine the doctor prescribed. How is this helping? 100%. Those medicines are not meant to really help you. They'll tell you to help you, but it's really just, and I've said this before, to people that, you're really just trading one addiction for another. It's insane. And you know what the best part about it is, about those medications? Every time the states get funding, massive funding, and kickbacks for every time they're prescribed. But you're right. There is those are not, worst case scenario. I mean, those medicines really do. You just don't use. It doesn't really help you heal. So yeah, I completely get that, Robin. So I just want to add something. Now that, Robin, you told me this, you reminded me. I never took those medications. Okay, those medications for to stop using. There's no medications. There was no 12 steps. I didn't even know what 12 steps were at that time. There was no detox center. There was no rehab, nothing. It was literally me, Source, and my spirit team. And let me tell you, it was powerful. And, of course, my free will. I wasn't forced to do it. I did it out of my free will. So, but this is it. This is how we get our power back, is our healing. It's in the healing journey, right? It's in the acquiring of knowledge for ourselves. It's in learning more positive habits and learning to stand in our truth. There's, these are ways we get our power back. Okay. So that is all I have today. I just want everyone to know that thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the show live or catching the replay. Very sensitive things mentioned today, but I'm grateful for all of you. And have a beautiful week and take care of yourselves. And until next week.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show.